It was an ordinary morning in January 1972. Passengers on TWA Flight 2 settled into their seats, expecting a routine flight from Los Angeles to New York. The hum of engines, the soft chatter, and the clink of coffee cups filled the cabin. No one suspected anything unusual. Then, a man in a dark suit stood up, his movements calm and precise. He walked down the aisle, slipped a hand into his coat, and handed a note to a flight attendant. The note read, "This is a hijacking." The cabin froze. The man's voice was steady, almost friendly, as he told the crew what to do. He claimed to have a gun and a bomb. Passengers whispered in fear, eyes darting to the stranger who now controlled their fate. It was Garrett Brock Trapnell. Cool, collected, and oddly polite. He did not shout or threaten. Instead, he smiled and spoke softly, as if he were the host of a strange, dangerous game. As news of the hijacking reached the cockpit, the pilots followed Trapnell's instructions. The plane's course changed. On the ground, law enforcement scrambled to respond, but for those on board, the world had shifted in an instant. The man in the suit was no ordinary criminal. He wanted something far more unusual than money. He wanted the world's attention. Garrett Brock Trapnell was not born into crime. He grew up in a normal family in Yonkers, New York. His father was a police officer and his mother worked as a secretary. As a boy, Trapnell was smart, charming, and quick with words. Teachers noticed his wit and confidence, but there was something different about him. He liked to bend the truth, even when he didn't need to. Teenage years brought trouble. Trapnell often skipped school and ran with the wrong crowd. He learned how to copy signatures and forge documents. By the time he was 20, he had already been arrested for fraud. But jail did not scare him. Instead, he used his time behind bars to study people, how they talked, how they trusted, and how they could be fooled. After his release, Trapnell began a new life as a con artist. He posed as a lawyer, a pilot, and even a CIA agent. He could talk his way into almost any situation. Each new scam was bigger than the last. It was never about the money. For Trapnell, the thrill came from fooling others and seeing his name in the news. His early life set the stage for what would come next. Trapnell was not just a criminal, he was a performer, always looking for a bigger audience. Trapnell's greatest weapon was his charm. He could make anyone believe almost anything. He dressed well, spoke smoothly, and remembered small details about people's lives. This made him seem trustworthy. He could convince strangers to give him money, jobs, or even secrets. Famous people, including politicians and businessmen, fell for his lies. He used many names and fake identities. Sometimes he was James Johnson, a successful lawyer. Other times, he was Robert Clayton, a government agent. He moved from city to city, leaving a trail of confusion behind him. No one could pin him down for long. Trapnell was not violent. He preferred to use words instead of weapons. He studied how people reacted to stress and fear. He knew exactly when to push and when to back off. This made him a master manipulator. Even when caught, he could often talk his way out of trouble. His need for attention grew stronger with each con. Soon, small scams were not enough. Trapnell wanted the world to watch him. He wanted to be famous no matter the cost. On January 28, 1972, Trapnell made his boldest move. He boarded TWA Flight 2 with a plan that would put him on the front page of every newspaper. After announcing the hijacking, he handed the crew a list of demands. They were strange, almost unbelievable. He wanted $306,800 in cash, the release of Angela Davis, a famous activist, and a direct phone call to President Richard Nixon. The crew and passengers were terrified, but Trapnell remained calm. He chatted with the flight attendants and even joked with the pilots. He made sure the press knew about his demands. Reporters rushed to airports and TV cameras rolled. Trapnell was finally in the spotlight. After hours of tense negotiations, the FBI came up with a plan. An agent disguised as a negotiator boarded the plane. He distracted Trapnell long enough for another agent to sneak up behind him and tackle him to the ground. The hijacking ended without bloodshed, but the world was left stunned. Trapnell was arrested and taken away in handcuffs. But even in defeat, he smiled for the cameras. He had gotten what he wanted. Everyone knew his name. Psychologists who studied Trapnell described him as a classic narcissist. He believed he was smarter than everyone else. He loved being the center of attention. He felt no guilt for lying, cheating, or putting others in danger. Some experts called him a sociopath, a person who cannot feel empathy or remorse. Trapnell's charm was both his gift and his curse. He could make people trust him, even when they knew his history. He used flattery and kindness to win people over. But behind the smile was a cold, calculating mind. He saw people as tools to get what he wanted. He also had a deep need for recognition. Ordinary life bored him. He craved excitement and drama. Being famous, even for a crime, was better than being ignored. This hunger for attention drove him to risk everything. Trapnell's story is a case study in manipulation. He showed how dangerous a charming liar can be, especially when the world is eager to listen. Trapnell's manipulative power did not end with his arrest. In prison he received letters from admirers. One woman, Barbara Oswald, became obsessed with him. She believed he was innocent and deserved to be free. Trapnell encouraged her, promising love and a future together. In 1978, Barbara hatched a daring plan. She hijacked a helicopter and forced the pilot to fly to the prison where Trapnell was held. Her goal was to break him out. As the helicopter landed, guards opened fire. Barbara was killed and the escape failed. Trapnell was not hurt, but the event shocked the nation. Trapnell showed little emotion after Barbara's death. He called her a dear friend but quickly moved on. To him she was another pawn in his quest for fame. Barbara's story shows how far people would go for Trapnell. His charm could inspire blind loyalty and deadly actions. Trapnell's influence reached even further. In 1979, his 17-year-old daughter Robin Oswald tried to do what Barbara could not. She boarded a plane in Illinois carrying a gun and a fake bomb. She demanded her father's release from prison. Passengers and crew were terrified. Robin was calm and determined, just like her father. She talked to negotiators for hours. In the end, she surrendered without hurting anyone. She was arrested and sent to a juvenile facility. The country watched in disbelief as another life was nearly destroyed by Trapnell's spell. Robin said she acted out of love for her father. She believed his promises and wanted to save him. But Trapnell showed little concern for her fate. His need for attention had put his own daughter in danger. This second hijacking proved how deep Trapnell's manipulation could go. He was not just a criminal, he was the center of a dark, dangerous story. Garrett Brock Trapnell died in prison in 1993. He spent his last years behind bars, far from the spotlight he craved. His story faded from the headlines, but the damage remained. Barbara Oswald was dead. Robin Oswald's life was forever changed. Dozens of innocent people had been put in danger, all for Trapnell's quest for fame. Trapnell's life is a warning about the dark side of attention. He wanted to be famous, but he destroyed lives along the way. His charm and intelligence made him powerful, but also dangerous. In the end, he became a symbol of how far some people will go to be seen and remembered. His story reminds us that fame can be a trap. For Garrett Brock Trapnell, the spotlight was never bright enough, and the cost was far too high.